For a long time, I thought being a good person meant making life easier for the people I cared about. If I could prevent a problem, I would. If I could reduce someone's stress, I would. If I could take something off their plate, I would. It felt like the right thing to do. After all, why would you let someone struggle if you could help? Why would you stand by and watch someone make a mistake when you already know what's going to happen? So I got used to stepping in. I reminded people. I solved problems. I worried about things before they became problems. And for a while I thought I was helping. But eventually I started noticing something. The more I carried for other people, the less they seemed to carry for themselves. At first, I didn't think much of it. I told myself I was just being supportive. I was just making life a little easier for the people around me. But over time, a pattern started to appear. The same problems kept coming back. The same responsibilities somehow found their way back to me. The same people kept needing help with things they probably could have handled on their own. And that's when I realized something uncomfortable. Sometimes helping isn't actually helping. Sometimes it's just removing the pressure that would have pushed someone to grow. Think about how most people learn important lessons. They learn because they made a mistake, because they forgot something important, because they faced consequences, because life forced them to adapt. Very few people become stronger because everything went according to plan. Most people become stronger because at some point, things didn't. But when we care about someone, our instinct is often to protect them from those experiences. We don't want them to fail. We don't want them to be disappointed. We don't want them to struggle. So we step in. Not once, not twice, but every single time. The problem is that every time we remove a challenge, we may also be removing an opportunity to become more responsible, more capable, more resilient, more confident. Because confidence doesn't come from being protected. It comes from discovering that you can handle difficult things on your own. And if someone is always there to catch you, you never really find out what you're capable of. What's even harder to admit is that being everyone's safety net comes at a cost. A cost we rarely talk about. You start carrying things that were never yours to carry. You start worrying about situations that aren't your responsibility. You spend so much time preventing problems for everyone else that you forget to pay attention to your own life. And little by little, you become exhausted. At some point, you have to accept a difficult truth. Not every problem needs your intervention. Not every mistake needs your correction. Not every struggle needs your rescue. Sometimes people need to figure things out themselves. Sometimes they need to experience the consequences of their choices. Sometimes they need to feel uncomfortable long enough to grow. That doesn't mean you stop caring. It doesn't mean you become cold or indifferent. It simply means understanding the difference between supporting someone and carrying them. Support says, I'm here if you need me. Carrying says, give it to me. I'll handle it. And those are not the same thing. One helps people become stronger. The other can make them dependent. If you've spent years being the person everyone relies on, this can be difficult to hear, because part of your identity may be tied to being needed, to being useful, to being the person who always has the answer. But maybe your job isn't to prevent every fall. Maybe your job is simply to be there when people decide to get back up. Because growth requires responsibility. Responsibility requires discomfort. And discomfort is not always something we should try to remove. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is trust people enough to face their own challenges. And sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself is stop carrying burdens that were never yours to begin with.